This episode of the Cult Popture podcast was brought to you by our Patreon. If you want to tell us which films we should watch, get up to 2 extra exclusive podcasts a month, give us something to talk about in the post-credit scenes at the end of each episode, or even contribute to the discussion in the episode itself, then please consider joining the cult and donating at www.patreon.com/cultpopture. Richard, we forgot something on last episode.
Oh, not fucking... We did franchise. We ranked it.
No. We forgot to mention that Alien was our 700th film watched for film franchise Fortnights. Making Predator, which is today's franchise, our 706th! Yay!
Hey!
What a significant number!
Yeah.
700 films, buddy. I mean, according, there's grey areas
By
in
some
our back
metric,
catalogue. But 700 films is pretty cool. Over 700 films is pretty cool.
Nothing to shake your dick at.
You shake your dick at something you don't like.
That's so... that's a third of the films I've watched in my life have been for this podcast.
Oh my god. I mean, that makes sense if you impose like a reason to watch, to watch films, and we've been doing it for nearly 7 years like that. That makes sense.
God.
Welcome along. If this is your first episode, what a strange one to pick, but welcome along to Film Franchise Fortnights on the Cult Popture podcast. My name is AJ, and I'm joined as usual by Richard. We're in the middle of covering the Alien vs. Predator movies. Last week, we did Alien.
Last week we did Alien.
This week, we're doing Predator. The Predator movies, which are only connected to Alien by a duo of decanonized crossover films, which we'll cover next week.
That's not true, Alan.
Well, we'll see. Why'd you call me Alan?
I was doing a... Dakota Johnson thing.
Oh, Allen. Well, the name Alan is going to come up later, so stay tuned.
I look forward to that.
We are doing the 6, is it 5 or 6 Predator movies? 5.
I only watched 5 of them, so...
7 last week as well. Yeah. I think it's because it feels like, and I think for a lot of my life, I assumed there was one more Predator movie between 2 and 3. I assumed there was a film called Predator 3, but there isn't.
And the E is a 3.
And the E would be a 3, correct?
Yeah, of course, obviously.
Yeah, so 6 films including Predator, Predator 2, Predators, The Predator, and Prey. These are the 5 films for which we will be discussing today, opening with, and starting in 1987 with Predator. This film was directed by John McTiernan. And do you know what else he's directed?
Nothing nothing you've covered on the podcast.
Nothing I've covered on the podcast, yes. He directed Die Hard and Die Hard with a Vengeance, among other, seminal
He went to jail?
movies. Did he? What did he go to jail for?
I think it was like a tax thing, maybe.
That's the least sexy crime.
Yeah, criminal charges, felony conviction, and incarceration. He was charged in federal court with making a false statement to an FBI investigator. And
okay,
he
was not tax.
He went to prison.
It's very different. Okay.
Oh, I don't know. It's all it's boring.
It's all
shit.
Bureaucratic and boring.
Yeah.
Is he still in prison?
No, I believe so. He surrendered to federal prison in 2013 to serve a 12-month sentence. And then he at the Yankton, which Forbes magazine ranked as one of America's 10 cushiest prisons. Apparently, though, while he was incarcerated, his wife said it was very hard for him, and he lost 30 pounds and was suffering from depression and completely emotionally disintegrating there. While in prison, he managed to write.
I would not be depressed, tell you.
While in prison, he managed to write a possible sequel for the Thomas Crown Affair.
Very cool.
With the working title Thomas Crown and the Missing Lioness. His supporters created a free John McTiernan Facebook page, including expressions of support from Samuel L. Jackson, Alec Baldwin, and Brad Bird. He was released in 2014 after 328 days of incarceration to serve the remainder of his 12-month prison sentence under house arrest.
Imagine being in prison and seeing one of your inmates and being like, "Oh, that's the director of Predator."
Where that guy made the Thomas Crown Affair and Rollerball.
Well, John Jailbird McTiernan was not always going to direct Predator. According to one dead link on Wikipedia, at one point, no, sorry, it wasn't a dead link. I just clicked the link and it did not.
And it died. It wasn't like that when you found it.
No, it just didn't provide the information as Wikipedia put it. But apparently, New Zealand director Jeff Murphy was considered to direct an early version of Predator. I really like Jeff Murphy, and I think he would have made a great Predator.
Playing
as in a movie.
Yeah. I mean, Hollywood has housed some great Predators.
That's true. You cannot deny their output. What do you think Predator has on Rotten Tomatoes?
I'm gonna guess it's mid-80s.
It's very early 80s.
Oh,
unlike the date the film came out.
82.
80. Just
wow.
80%.
Wow.
What's it about? What is Predator about? For those who have not seen it and are tuning into a podcast discussing it and its sequels, what is Predator 1987 about?
So a group of paramilitary macho dudes are sent to
the cool guys
to a Central American jungle to rescue some official. But wait, the official is a predator. No, wait. There is a predator. And when I say predator, I don't mean your, Harvey Weinsteins or Alex Joneses. I'm talking about like a hunter.
Is Alex Jones a predator?
One of them is.
Okay, all right, mate. Come on. This coming from Ricky Martin, who only just very recently quelled some incest accusations. So.
Well, yeah, coming from Alexander, what's wrong with incest Jones?
Let's not get into that out of context.
Do you want to explain to people your fun party game?
I just think it's funny to put people through the mental process of explaining why consensual incest is wrong. I'm cutting this out of the beginning of the episode.
All right, we'll circle back.
Okay.
I'll just.
There's an alien in the jungle.
Yeah, there's an alien in the jungle. The film's original working title was "There's an Alien in the Jungle," but then they realized obviously people would be expecting it to be tied to Alien, so they changed the name to Predator. And as is pointed out at some points in the film franchise, which you may or may not get to, he's not really a predator. Like he's hunting for sport. And so it's this alien, this cool dreadlocked alien with these big old mandibles who just loves hunting, just loves killing people. And they're awaiting a chopper rescue, hence the famous "get to the chopper," as said by Arnold Schwarzenegger. And it's the aliens from the future, or like has futuristic technology. So
it's from the future. What? I did not realize.
Macho, bravado, 80s masculinity versus cool dreadlocked alien.
It's been called like one of the quintessential 80s action films. Though in that sense, it's got elements of horror as well, which I think disqualifies it from being called quintessential. It makes it a better film. But is it quintessential if it's like a mix of different genres?
I didn't pick up on any horror elements.
Well, you watched it as a 29-year-old adult, not as a 12-year-old boy like I did.
I would like you to bleep my age, AJ.
Okay. I bleeped 12. What you hadn't seen this before?
No, I was too busy getting laid.
In 1987.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Very cool.
I hadn't seen any of the Predator films. I had a lot of people asking me if I've watched Prey recently, as it recently came out, and I said no, I haven't even seen Predator. And then I went back and told those same people, "Oh, do you know what I watched for the first time this week? Predator, and they said, "Oh, you mean Prey, the new one?" And I said, "No, we've had this conversation before. I'm talking about I watched the original Predator. I'm going to watch Prey tonight. I had this conversation yesterday."
Nice. And what happened? Were they surprised?
We're going to a big fight.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I back your side, whatever.
Yeah, I backed Tim over with my car.
What? So what did you think of Predator?
I thought it was dumb. No, it was. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It's a fun 80s, like it is, and I know this is controversial, but I think it is one of the quintessential 80s action films. And I was sort of like, my first sort of instinct watching it was like, this is like if aliens had nothing to say.
It's such a good way to put it.
But then I was like, does Predator have something to say? And I was like, I want to float that. And I think, it's sort of saying, as macho as you want to be, sometimes you have to take on a predator.
Yeah, no, totally. I wonder if like there is and I've heard people say it this way, but I don't know if it is true or not. And looking at the artists involved, you may disagree or agree. I wonder if there's like a Starship Troopers-esque satire going on in Predator that goes over people's heads, because when we watch it finally happened, by the way. I mentioned this last week. I watched a movie out of leisure in my free time, in my non-podcast life, and then we had the Patreon voted, and we had to cover the same franchise I'd just seen weeks earlier, which is something I've been worried about since this podcast.
I don't watch franchise movies.
Exactly. But it finally happened, so that I've seen this movie twice in the last probably month and a half.
You fool.
And when we first watched this, me and my flatmates, it was after we'd watched Prey, the new one. And my flatmate Christy was very confused to discover that the original movie is this bravado 80s.
When the new one's all woke and shit.
Well, it's more like, it's just a more, grounded movie.
Yeah, the alien coming to Earth is real grounded.
I do wonder, if there's supposed to be like a self-aware subversion to Predator. It tricks you into thinking it's just another Schwarzenegger catchphrase marathon, but then everyone's outmatched and perhaps...
Yeah, I mean, he does say it's a catchphrase sprint, not a marathon. He says, "Gets the chopper." They say, "If it bleeds, we can kill it."
Stick around after he pegs the guy with a machete.
Yeah. It's a catchphrase. It's a catchphrase 400 meters.
Okay, fair enough. Maybe subversion is the wrong word, but it is a film which uses your expectations and familiarity with the kind of movie it is to enhance how threatening the predator is, because no matter how macho and strong you are, there's always a bigger fish.
Yeah. And sometimes that fish...
A line not from this movie.
Is a predator. Yeah.
A line not from this movie, which isn't even like a thematic thing in Phantom Menace. Phantom Menace is... If Phantom Menace was smart, it would be thematically about how there's always a bigger fish. But it's not at all, is it?
Did they say that in Phantom Menace?
Yeah, when they're on Naboo.
On the
Qui-Gon Jinn. I haven't seen Star Wars. I don't know. I watched Predator for the first time when I was 11 or 12, I said, and I remember being so captivated by it. It was like on TV. I missed the first probably half. and like, I remember my dad being like, "Oh, yeah, this is Predator. You check out Predator." And the bit that I always remember...
Check out Predator was my nickname in high school.
Okay, dude. Whoa, buddy. The bit that I always remember... it's like really loving as a kid is when Dylan and Mac spot the predator in between the two trees. So this is Bill Duke and what's his name from We Got a Stew Going? Carl
Weathers. Yeah.
When they're hiding and Bill Duke goes like, look over there between them two trees, and you look over and you can see this invisible, wavy, because the predator's
waving at them.
cloaking advice. It's waving at them. And I just remember that being so cool and so scary, and like it just really like piqued my interest. There are a few things I didn't remember revisiting it as an adult, though.
The first half of the film that you missed.
One of those was I did not remember that the Predator mimics the characters, and it was only Disney Plus's subtitles that made it clear that when he maniacally laughs at the end as he's blowing himself up, the Predator, it's supposed to be him mimicking Billy, one of the characters. Laughing.
It should be mimicking a character with a more distinct laugh.
Sure.
Imagine if he'd killed Jimmy Carr, and then when he's dying, go, huh, 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 huh,
he kills Seth Rogen, and he's like,
or me,
yeah, or anyone with a distinct laugh. Who are some others we can think of? He kills Mandark from Dexter's Laboratory, and as he's dying, he's like, ah, ah.
Or he kills Jared Leto's Joker, and he goes, ah, 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 ah.
Yeah, so for those who have for some reason listening to this and haven't seen Predator, it ends with he's been bested by Arnie, and instead of dying quietly, he
won't shut up.
triggers a nuclear explosion, and he laughs while he's doing it. And I always remember that being like this weird thing where the Predator just laughs, but it's much better.
It's like, do they have stand-up comedy on Predator World?
Predator Land?
Why does he need the ability to laugh?
So the inception of this film actually began with a piece of trivia.
Oh, I could recite this off by heart.
A piece of trivia we've taken for a walk around the block on the podcast before, which is that following the release of Rocky IV, a joke circulated in Hollywood that since Rocky Balboa had run out of earthly opponents, he would have to fight an alien if a fifth film were to be made. A hilarious observation on how 4 sequels was apparently too many in the 80s.
Like, so he fights the same person in the first 2 films, and then he fights 2 more people, and they're like, that's the entire population of Earth. That's the planet.
Yeah. So that's where the idea for Predator started. Screenwriters and brothers, Jim and John Thomas, took inspiration from the joke and wrote a screenplay based on it. The Thomas' script for Predator was originally titled There's an Alien in the Jungle. It was originally titled Hunter, which is definitely a more accurate description of
there's a few times in the franchise they say, well, he's not a predator, he acts more like a hunter, and they go, well, Predator sounds cooler.
So Arnold Schwarzenegger, probably one of his most well-known roles as Dutch. He's a no-nonsense army guy.
He's like some kind of no-nonsense army guy.
This is what he said upon I think in reflection of Predator as a film. He said...
Do the voice.
Of course. The first thing I look for in a script is a good idea. A majority of scripts are rip-offs. This is such a long quote. Are rip-offs of other movies. People think they can become successful overnight. They sat down one weekend and wrote a script because they read that Stallone did that with Rocky. Predator is one of the scripts I read, and it bothered me in one way. It was just me and the alien, so we redid the whole thing so that it was a team of commandos. And then I liked the idea. I thought it would make a much more effective movie and be much more believable. I like the idea of starting out an action adventure and then coming in with some horror and science fiction.
Well, I think people are going to be very impressed with your Schwarzenegger. I can't believe that's what we deprived the world of when we covered Terminator.
When we swore we'd never do it.
Yeah.
If Schwarzenegger's in 2 or more of the films, you're not allowed to do it, but if he's only in 1, treat yourself.
Oh, it's fine. Yeah. If we cover...
Batman?
Yeah.
I think this quote really endears me to Schwarzenegger, and I dare say he gets it, Richard. If he can read a script where they're like, Schwarzenegger, it's you versus an alien, and he goes, there should be more people, which is a brilliant, like a essential factor in the film. I think he might understand his own brand for a guy who seems like a bastion of no self-awareness.
Yeah,
like
the Republican governor of California.
Speaking of Schwarzenegger, this is our 10th Arnold Schwarzenegger film we've watched for the podcast. Can you name the other 9?
Okay, so how many Terminator films are there?
There are 6 Terminator films.
So there's the 6 Terminator films. Are you counting Salvation?
No, he's not in Salvation.
Right, well, his likeness is used. Okay, so
but he's not credited as starring.
He's not credited.
Thank you.
So that's 5 right there. Then Expendables 2.
He isn't all 3 Expendables.
And 1 and 3.
Yeah.
So that's 8.
Yeah.
So we got one more?
Yeah, we got one more.
And he's also in... Is it an action movie franchise?
Gotta get the Turbo Man doll.
Oh, you fucking piece of shit.
What, me or the movie?
I haven't decided yet. Jingle All the Way.
Jingle All the Way. We also see the return of Peter Cullen in this film, who voices Optimus Prime among several other animated characters. He is not credited but he voices the Predator.
Oh.
And he based it off the communicative clicks of a gurgling horseshoe crab.
Oh, wow.
That's apparently what it sounds like. He was apparently bleeding from the throat after doing King Kong in the 70s King Kong movie. And was like, I can't do this. But then saw the character and was like, oh yeah, I'll make some throat clicks and that'll be the character.
I'm going to say something controversial.
Okay.
I thought the clicking wasn't as prominent as I thought it was going to be.
How dare you? Well, I don't know if that's what the Predator is remembered for specifically.
Well,
Are you saying
so this is the thing that
prominent?
I think it is what it's remembered for. But I don't know if watching it, if it would be what I would remember it for. I also didn't know or had mostly forgotten that the Predator goes invisible. Now, that's a big part of it.
That's a massive part of it.
Yeah. So there's that. The clicking, the dreadlock. Yeah.
You remember the dreadlocks?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You asked me what I know about a Predator a week ago, I would have said the Dreadator.
Because he's got dreadlocks. You would have said he's got dreadlocks and he's 100% visible the whole film.
Yeah. I know these things for certain.
Well, according to IMDb, I can tell you how the invisibility cloaking effect was achieved, because it is kind of cool, especially for the time period. The guy playing the Predator, whose name was Kevin Peter Hall, he wore a bright red suit, like a red morph suit, because that's the opposite color of the jungle. And the red was removed with chroma key effects, leaving an empty area, and then the take was repeated without the actors, using a 30% wider lens, so that optically it becomes this weird,
slight distortion.
Slightly distorted thing. Yeah.
That's cool, yeah. Because it is one of those things where it's like this, you want to show where the Predator is. So you don't just want to have them react to nothing. But I like that they kind of committed to how the Predator looks when it's invisible. And like even, when we can make shit invisible in our sleep now. And we can make things look completely different. We can do whatever we want with CGI. That they still really committed to this kind of like, he's still pretty visible. It definitely looks more like it's a camouflage than he's actually invisible.
Yeah. Exactly. Did you know that Jean-Claude Van Damme was originally going to play the Predator?
Wow.
He didn't want, but the idea was like, we get someone who's like a martial arts expert, and it'll be that versus Arnie. But they didn't think he looked imposing enough next to Arnie, who at the time was the largest man in the world. And also
JCVD's quite short in stature, I think.
Right. Okay. So he also apparently complained that he was never going to be himself. He was just going to be. Like he wanted to be in the film.
Like every Jean-Claude Van Damme film has to have a scene where he's out of character. It's in his contract. You watch Sudden Death and there's a scene in there where he meets Jean-Claude Van Damme at the hockey game.
Nice. Very cool. Is that true?
Could be.
So he was replaced with Harry and the Henderson star Kevin Peter Hall, who is 7'2" and presumably played Harry.
That's Hall, so tall.
that Hall would return for Predator 2, but actually died a year after the sequel's release of AIDS, which he contracted via a blood transfusion after a car accident. Fuck.
Wow.
Imagine getting a blood transfusion and you get AIDS from it.
Yeah. But yeah, we've saved your life, but we have poisoned you.
Yeah. Do you know what Dutch's real name is, according to the script?
Peter.
No. It's Alan Schaefer.
Oh, yeah.
That's the lamest name. I can't imagine Arnold Schwarzenegger playing a character named Alan.
Alan Schaefer!
My name is Alan from
Alan.
Jurassic Park. Who would win in a fight between the film franchise Fortnights Allens?
Yeah.
Alan Dutch Schaefer, Alan Grant, or Alan from Jumanji? So Robin Williams, Sam Neill, or Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Yeah, I was going to say this is like our second franchise with an unexpected Alan. After the Velociraptor season.
Yeah. I mean, the easy answer would be that Dutch has got it down because he's the strongest, but Alan Grant is squirrely. He gets himself out of, like, near impossible scenarios, you know?
Yeah.
I think Alan from Jumanji... Well, no, but he's probably more experienced with jungle monsters than Dutch is. I think Dutch might be the first one to go here.
I don't think he would be.
No?
No.
Because he's a survivor.
Yeah. It's in his contract.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Did you like any of the cool lines in Predator, Richard?
I liked all the bad lines.
Oh, yeah.
I liked the expository dialogue.
I reckon when he throws the machete and it pins the guy and he says, stick around, I reckon that nearly ruins the film. I think it's such like if it's satire, then fine. If it's like lulling you into thinking it's just another Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, then fine. But
right, so you need John McTiernan to comment on whether the film is a satire or not for you to see which way you fall about that line.
Schwarzenegger apparently improvised that line, and it's just so fucking lame. I hate it so much. But conversely, I think if it bleeds, we can kill it is an awesome line for, you know, a classic action movie. And I think about it a lot. I think, if something bleeds, that does mean you can kill it. It's just a cool line. I really like it. There's also, get to the chopper, as you mentioned. There's,
look out for the Predator.
There's your one ugly motherfucker, which is repeated and changed throughout the series. But I think my favorite has got to be, do it! Kill me! Come on, do it now! Kill me! Which is so funny.
Yeah, when he's talking to Carl Weathers.
Yeah. IMDb trivia, Richard. Let me tell you about IMDb trivia.
I like how smart it is.
Well, not always, Richard. Sometimes it's dumb as hell. What? Because it's, of course, user submitted.
This is the first I've heard of it.
Anyone can submit anything. And here is a piece of dumb IMDb trivia I found for Predator. Mac's death was ranked number 2 by IO9 of the 10 best Predator kills.
Is that going to be coming up a lot?
No, I just think it's funny that on a list called the 10 best Predator kills, the only one that was worthy an entry on IMDb was number 2. It's not even number 1. If it was number 1, I'd be like, right, okay, so they're telling us that, like, IO9 decided this was the best death. But it's not, and none of the other deaths are listed on the site, on the trivia page. I'm so baffled by this. Why would you list number 2? What's the best? I'm going to look it up. I'm going to look up what's the best one.
What did Now Playing Podcast give this film?
I couldn't find Now Playing Podcast. I don't think IO9 exists as a website anymore.
Wow.
Wait.
Maybe it got deleted as this person was entering them.
That was the only one who could... I found it. It's on Gizmodo. Okay. Oh, there's spoilers for Alien vs. Predator here. All right. Okay. So, if number 2 is... Continue reading. If number 2 is Mac's death... Oh, okay. This explains it. Number 1 is Dutch survives. That's not a fucking death. What on earth?
That's so funny.
What a thread to pull on. What a rewarding result. For pulling on.
I feel so alive.
One question we ask as on this podcast as well, Richard, and we always remember to ask it, is French wise?
French,
Why?
huh?
French, huh? French who? Why did Predator spawn a franchise? Do you have any thoughts?
I think pretty early on they would have realized we got to put this thing up against Alien.
That's a very so the Predator, if Predator has like existed anywhere the most prominently in pop culture, it's actually been like comic books and stuff, far more than movies. And the Alien vs Predator did not take long to surface in the comic books. And when the first film came out, the 20th Century Fox executive approached Jim and John Thomas and asked them to write a sequel. And they pitched 6 ideas. One of them was putting the creature in an urban jungle, which the studio liked. And I couldn't find exactly what the other 6 ideas were, but I did find a transcript from an issue, from issue 161 of Starlog magazine from sometime in 1990.
I was only subscribed till issue 160, so I'm keen to hear how this pans out.
Jim and John were interviewed and they said, "There are definitely possibilities for a real franchise here," says John Thomas. "The Predator could show up in a different time period, like the Old West. It could wind up on other planets. The possibilities are pretty limitless. I think Alien vs. Predator is a good idea, but that will probably never happen on film, though it is already has in Dark Horse Comics acclaimed licensed Alien vs. Predator miniseries," chuckles Jim Thomas. "My personal favourite would be to have Predator beat the crap out of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles."
That's so good.
So interesting, both that they pitch Alien vs. Predator as a movie and also a period piece, which will come back. But yeah, moving on now to Predator 2, which came out in 1990. This was directed by Stephen Hopkins, who's directed something in film franchise Fortnights before. Do you know what it is?
Muppets Take Manhattan.
He did not direct The Muppets Take Manhattan, though that would be a funny alternate title for Predator 2. He directed A Nightmare on Elm Street 5.
I did know that, actually, yeah.
The Dream Child. And what do you think that Predator 2 has on Rotten Tomatoes?
48.
32! Oof.
Oof. Oof, baboof.
Oof. What is it about? It's a reverse Ace Ventura.
Yeah. A Predator starts hunting down gang members in the distant future of 1997. The police force get wind of it and take him down, and then there's also like another task force hunting it down, but it ends up being a standoff between Murtaugh and from Lethal Weapon and the Predator, and he defeats the Predator, and then all these other Predators show up and are like, "Hey, you killed our friend, and I respect you for it."
He's got balls.
Yeah. And they give him a pistol, which, I'm sure we'll never hear from again. And we see a xenomorph skull as well from Alien.
Yes, on their ship.
Yeah, which is like part of their like trophy cabinet.
Yeah.
I do, before we get really into the nitty gritty of Predator 2, I have a fun little piece of random, poorly placed, useless statistics,
Always
which is
welcome.
Also a little bit of a title. We talk about titles thing. So obviously, Predator 2 is like the most run of the mill title for a Predator sequel. But I was thinking, how often do we actually see a sequel, which is just the exact title of the first film, followed by a numeral 2? Not a Roman numeral, not like spelt out TWO like Happy Feet, just the exact title of the first film, and then the number 2. So we've covered...
Is it that rare? I would have thought that was the more common execution of sequel titles.
So we've done how many sequels have we seen? We've got how many films are on?
How many sequels have we seen?
So, or how many like first sequels? So we've got 160 franchises we've covered.
Mm.
How many? So that's roughly 160 first sequels. How many do you think have the name first title of the first one, number 2?
I'm going to say at least half.
21.
Only 21?
Yeah,
what are they?
Including Predator 2.
What are they?
Do you want me to go through them?
Yeah.
I think I just went through the complete film. So, actually, the first franchise we covered was one, Lethal Weapon.
Which also starred Danny Glover.
Yeah, then we've got Ghostbusters doesn't count. Evil Dead doesn't count because it's The Evil Dead and then Evil Dead 2. Spider-Man 2, Scary Movie 2, none of the Friday the 13th, none of the Nightmare on Elm Street, Shrek 2, the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants 2. What else have we got?
The fact you weren't prepared for me to ask you to list them all, I just wouldn't have asked. I assumed you'd have.
The Jungle Book 2.
Mm-hmm.
None of the Transformers.
Control F2. Control F2.
Well, it's on multiple pages. Dumb and Dumber 2 doesn't count. 102 Dalmatians. Daddy's Home 2 is one.
Mm-hmm.
And then something
Bad
like Lilo and
Moms
Stitch
2
2
in some regions.
Huh? Yeah.
Bad Moms 2 in some regions.
American Pie 2 is one, which I was like, oh yeah, I guess it is. Critters 2, Scream 2, Mission Impossible 2. Mission Impossible 2 was like, I wasn't sure whether to count it because on the poster it's MI number 2, but then the actual film is Mission Impossible Roman numeral 2.
Yeah, Mission Impossible is dicey like that.
Toy Story 2.
Yeah.
Final Destination.
That's great, and trivia that I'm legitimately very interested in, and thank you for bringing up. I don't know if I'd make the distinction between numerical and Roman numerals, I guess. Maybe I'm thinking more like phonetically.
Well, that's the thing is that I feel like Roman numeral is... that's why I made the distinction, because I was curious that, like, just seeing Predator 2, and maybe what I'm picking up on is that we see this a lot less these days. I think films these days are more inclined to have a subtitle or to do something with it. That I was looking at the title Predator 2, and I think as well because it's just one word and then a number 2, that I was like, we actually don't really see this that often.
Sure, yeah.
And I thought it might be one of those things that we probably see a lot less than we think. 21 times. There we go.
And we do see it a lot less than I thought.
Jingle All the Way 2, Bad Santa 2, High School Musical 2. 3 franchises in a row.
Wow.
Iron Man 2.
So, I thought Predator 2, for all its poor critical reception, I thought it was fine. I thought it was relatively serviceable. There's a subplot about like a voodoo gang that I thought was a bit weird and didn't really fit in the film. But I thought it satisfied the what if Predator was in the city itch.
Yeah, the Predator takes Manhattan.
Yeah, there's not a better version of that pitch, I don't think, than this.
Yeah. Have you got the tagline for the film written down? Because it is phenomenal.
What was it again?
He's in town with a few days to kill.
It's so funny to think of this franchise as in any way connected to Alien when that's the tagline for part 2.
Yeah.
It's so inelegant.
Yeah, coming from in space, no one can hear you scream.
Yeah.
No, that's such a good one. Few days to kill, because he's going to be killing people, but also people say like Time to Kill.
Exactly.
Not A Time to Kill starring Samuel L. Jackson and Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah. I actually quite liked the ending. I thought it adds a cool amount to the lore. And so, to reiterate, Danny Glover ends up on the Predator's ship, and he defeats the Predator there, and then he's greeted by a bunch of other Predators who give him like this pistol as a trophy, and he leaves, and it's genuinely like, it feels like something that you would read was cut from the first film. It's like the pterodactyl room in Jurassic Park 3. Like, it's got that kind of like, this is as good as anything in the first one kind of vibe.
Yeah, I do think it's like as well that the giving the antique pistol and going into this knowing that's addressed in Prey is like that's insane that this was just a thing that happens in Predator 2 for over 30 years.
Yeah, so it's set up a comic book, if that
Yeah.
makes a little bit more sense. But yeah, like I didn't necessarily like the movie overall, but I don't know, it
Yeah.
was all right, and yeah, it's the ending was pretty good, I thought.
Yeah, but like you say, I like that the Predator has like a code,
Yeah,
and that that they
exactly.
have that like they don't harm.
Disqualifying him as a predator.
Yeah, that they don't have they like don't harm unarmed people in this film.
Mm. Which is like one thing. Imagine like you're a kid and you're terrified of Predator, and then your dad's just like, "Well, if you don't have a gun, he's not going to get you."
Yeah, and if
I'd
you're a
be like, "Oh
naked
yeah,
lady, you'll be fine
yeah."
after you watch The
I don't
Predator together.
why my dad is telling me it if I'm a naked lady, but I agree nonetheless. This is our 6th Danny Glover film after the 4 Lethal Weapons and Jumanji: The Next Level,
Yeah.
and our 3rd Gary Busey, the recently cancelled Gary Busey,
Was
our
it?
3rd film, I think so, from him after The Magnificent Seven Ride, a film I did not remember he was in, or even remember the name of. I mean, he is also, if you'll remember, the
Yeah, and the
villain in
first
Lethal
Weapon.
Weapon.
It was his first film role, wasn't it?
Oh, was it?
I think so.
This is also our 5th Bill Paxton movie after Aliens. So there is actually an actor that shows
That's
up in
in
both
yeah,
franchises.
and
Um,
he quite famously is the only person to be killed by. Oh no, him and one other person to be
mhm.
killed by an alien, a predator, and a Terminator. But I
He's
think
also in the
Lance
Terminator.
Hendrickson also
Lance
gets,
Hendrickson,
but
he
he
doesn't get
doesn't
killed by them.
die by all three. He's in all three franchises, but he doesn't actually get killed by
He's
all
not
three.
in Predator.
Let me Google this.
Bill Paxton was also in Spy Kids 2 and Spy Kids 3D. For those wondering what his other films were.
Oh, he's in Alien vs Predator. Lance Hendrickson.
Does he play Bishop? I guess we'll find out, won't we?
Yeah. So, but Lance Hendrickson is severely damaged by an alien, but not killed.
That's true. I mean, he dies eventually, I guess, just not necessarily because of the alien.
He plays Charles Bishop Wayland.
Wayland! Wow, I'm looking forward to all this lore that AVP is going to reveal to us. So, as you said before, it is set. Predator 2 is set 10 years after Predator, placing this film in what was then the distant future of 1997. And this is interesting because the then non-existent subway in Los Angeles started operating the same year the film hit theaters. So the scene in the subway was that didn't exist in LA.
Like, what a crazy future that in 7 years Los Angeles will have a subway system.
One that's already grimy and dirty.
There's a like light rail going in Auckland that I wouldn't even be confident to say will be open in 7 years, and its projected opening date was like 3 years ago.
Yeah. The famous Auckland light rail gate.
Yeah.
So Schwarzenegger did not return for Predator 2. However, a role was indeed written for him, and he was even in talks, but reportedly didn't like the script, which positioned him as almost an antagonist to Danny Glover's character. And he also thought he should have been paid $250K more than what he was given, which sounds like was the real reason he didn't return. This role was eventually given to Gary Busey, who plays Keys. So that role was, I wonder if Dutch... I kind of like the idea of like the main character from your first film serving like a bureaucracy antagonist to the main character of the new film. I don't know if I've seen that.
I feel like I
before.
watched something that does it happen in Alien?
It happens in something that
something I've seen really recently.
Right. Let us know in the comments if you can think of any examples where like it's more specific than just. Like,
no, I'm thinking of David and in Prometheus and Alien Covenant.
Right, okay. I'm talking more like less like the villain of the piece and more like as an opposing force to the main character. I feel like that's done a couple of times in different things. Steven Seagal was also approached to star in Predator 2, but ultimately was not selected
because he sucks.
Because he brought too many ideas to the table, wanting his character to be a CIA psychiatrist and martial arts expert. Very cool.
Damn.
Roger Ebert gave the film 2 out of 4 stars, suggesting that it represents an angry and ugly dream. Which is like, okay. He also felt that the creature's design had racist undertones where subliminal clues encourage us to subconsciously connect the menace with black males. What do you think about that? Do you think there's any credence to that?
If you want to put that onto him, Roger, that sounds like your stuff you're dealing with.
I think it's definitely not something that should be looked into, and like, I
mean, he is played by a black man.
That's true, and the film.
And I would also say that something like dreadlocks as well. Yeah.
But I mean, they're not actually dreadlocks, are they? They're appendages on this alien creatures. That doesn't make it necessarily less racially, because it's a fictional creature. But yeah. So the Predator has an interesting legacy of its directors commenting on why the movie didn't do well. And it starts here with Stephen Hopkins, who said, "It's so over the top, I just sort of went for it and made the biggest, boldest, loudest movie I could make. I was only 29 years old, same age as you, Richard. And me, don't worry. I was like a rampant child running around Los Angeles, blowing the shit out of everything and everyone, and making things as bloody as possible. About the modest reception of the box office and the cult status since its release, he added, it had a big initial opening weekend, if I can remember correctly, but I think many people were disappointed that Arnold wasn't in it. A lot of people like the film and some prefer it to the original just because it's in the city and more contemporary. And I think, I do wonder if just like not having Arnold in it was like seen as like a massive blemish at the time. I was reading that like a lot of critics like praised Danny Glover's performance, which is almost kind of as baffling to me as people being upset that Arnold's not in it. It's like, oh yeah, I guess he was all right. But yeah. Danny Glover himself commented on his performance, saying he was proud of it, saying, I have 2 films I've done that I feel that I was bigger than life in which I felt I could control the space. Silverado and for me, and Predator 2. In Predator 2, it was like, who's the baddest cat in your space? And the baddest cat says, I'm going to challenge you. Mano, I was the baddest. I was the baddest guy in his space. What happens? I kill him. And then the others come around and I'm like, all right, who's next? I was about 42, 43, in the best shape of my life. Best shape I've been in. I was running on the beach, had my training. I was lifting weights a lot more than I am now. I was really feeling it in that movie. So good on you, Danny Glover. Really feeling yourself.
Yeah, good for him.
Is there anything else you wanted to talk about regarding Predator 2?
Predator 2.
Predator 2. That's what they should have called it.
Yeah.
Predators did not come out for 20 years. Which is
felt like it.
It's interesting, isn't it? It came out in 2010, so 20 years after Predator 2. It was directed by a guy named Nimrod Antal, or maybe Nimrod, because there's an umlaut over the O.
That's not umlaut. That's an accent.
Oh, sorry. It was interestingly produced by Robert Rodriguez, who had quite a lot to do with the production as a whole. What do you think it has on Rotten Tomatoes?
69.
65. What's it about?
Predators is about a group of people who have nothing to do with each other, who wake up in the middle of a jungle and they go, well, fuck, okay, let's try get out of this jungle. They go to high ground and shock fucking horror. They look at a skyline, which is not the one that they're used to on Earth because they're on a different planet.
Oh my God.
They're there for the amusement of the 2 warring factions of predators who predate them. And
are there 2 warring factions, or is there just one that... I didn't pick up on there being factions. Maybe there is, I just missed it.
Yeah, something like that. And there's like there's 2 different types of predators. Okay. Yeah, there's like a blood feud between different types of predators. Anyway, because there's that one that's like strung up.
Yeah, I just thought that was like a traitor. I didn't realize that was that represented a whole clan or anything.
Yeah, our sort of survivors who it's revealed that they're all kind of, outcasts from society because of all the murders they've done. And they, except for one guy that doesn't fit in, played by Topher Grace, but then turns out he's the biggest murderer of them all. And then, they try and escape and get back to Earth. And then it very much ends on like a tease for a sequel. A sequel which never came.
Yeah, so we got a stacked cast here. Leading the pack is Adrian Brody. There's also Topher Grace, as you said, Alice Braga, Walton Goggins, Danny Trejo, Mahershala Ali, and our buddy Lawrence Fishburne even shows up for a little bit. What did you think of this movie?
This is one that I went into knowing that it had a bit of a critical reevaluation, that especially after The Predator was so bad, that I think a lot of people are going, Predators is the true Predator sequel. And so, yeah, I weirdly remember the trailer for this, like, very distinctly.
Yeah, strange.
I don't specifically remember like the trailer, but I remember seeing the trailer a lot.
I remember a couple of shots from it. Experience, just like being like, oh, there's a new Predator movie coming out.
Yeah, a franchise I know nothing about.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it enough. Yeah, I mean that's kind of what I can say about it, is that like it's a reasonably fun sort of movie. I like the setup. It's a very sort of different setup. And yeah.
No,
I enjoyed it more than the second one.
Had similar expectations. I'd heard good things about it. I'd heard like, every second Predator movie is bad. And this is the third one, so it must be good. And I thought the first act, as you say, the setup was very compelling in like a 2010s TV pilot way. Like, this feels like Lost is nearly finished and people are trying to make the next Lost. So it's like 10 strangers wake up in the middle of a jungle. What do they have in common? Like, it felt, like it would run for 13 episodes and no one would remember it now.
Yeah, and it'd be cool. It would have like a number as the title.
Yeah, fuck, it would, wouldn't it? It'd be called like The 10.
The 10, yeah.
Yeah. I felt my interest plummet though when they discover they're on a different planet. Like, they look at that skyline and I was like, yeah, I don't think this is very compelling anymore. Like, it opens with them all falling.
That would be how the first episode ends.
Yeah, exactly.
And like the premiere is like the most watched television event because it followed the Super Bowl.
And
then it got cancelled like hours before its finale aired.
Yeah. You're talking about Flash Forward as the show that you're referencing.
I am.
There
was also and Revolution, the other one,
and V,
very similar.
The Elizabeth.
Yeah.
What's her name? Yeah, so I just thought that was like, okay, they're on a different planet. That's not very compelling. It's because it starts with all of them falling to the earth from above, and they all have parachutes, and like one guy doesn't turn his parachute on in time and he dies, and so it's all very like mysterious, and they're all like, who are you, why are you shooting at me? And then you find out that like they're all criminals, like they're all heavy hitters, I think is the way they put it. That would be a good title, Heavy Hitters. And then
the 10 heavy hitters.
Yeah, and then the 10 heavy hitters. And then they discover they're on a different planet, and I thought that was dumb, and then it kept getting dumber.
And Adrian Brody's like, well, looks like we're on a different planet.
I also thought the ending, whether it was setting something up or not, was pretty dumb. And I'm gonna say
he's like, well, let's go find the rest of these predators.
I'm gonna say a controversial dissenting opinion here. I think Predator 2 is better than Predators. I think Predator 2 is a more consistent film that is less. I mean, I guess this is a good thing. Predators is certainly more of a risky film, but it's just so all over the place and has a lot of undercooked ideas in it. One thing,
I think it's maybe just my modern story viewing brain,
One thing I thought was really dumb, and this was Topher Grace and his character. So, as you said before, at the reveal, like at the start, they're like, all of us are heavy hitters except this nerdy doctor. What's he doing here? And it's clear from the beginning that the writers planned for him to be some kind of secret villain, and it's revealed at the end when he thinks it's just him and Alice Braga left alive, he like reveals his true colors and he like poisons her. And
then Adrian Brody shows up.
Yeah, and then
he's like, I heard everything.
And he tells her that he likes being on the Predator planet because he's a murderer back on Earth and he feels at home here. It's very silly. But every other clue that's like, so it's definitely set up that he's not what he says, right? But every other clue earlier in the film, it seems to imply that he's like in on it. Like he's a double agent working for the Predators. And I reckon originally he was going to be revealed as that. But by the time they got to the end, they were like, well, he can still be evil, but I don't think it'll work. And then they just forgot to go back and rewrite certain setups. Because there's a scene where he like identifies like a poisonous alien plant, even though he's from Earth. And I remember thinking someone's going to call him up on this and be like, how did you know what that plant was if it's
I saw a thing that was supposed to be that like that plant has been extinct for years.
Right.
And they deleted a scene of him being like, that plant's supposed to be extinct.
Right, okay. When Isabel...
When I say for years, I mean like it's like a prehistoric
Right,
plant.
yeah. When Isabel thinks she's going to get eaten by a predator dog toward the end of the first act of the film, they fight off a bunch of alien dogs. She's about to shoot herself in the head because she thinks she's going to get eaten. And Topher Grace, who's hiding in a tree, looks down at her and goes, "No!" And then it cuts away from him and you hear like a dog whistle. And the predator dog stops.
Yeah, someone says something mildly racist.
Yeah, that's what Roger Ebert was talking about.
Yeah. The Predator's like, dreadlocks, I think we all know who we're talking about.
Dreadlocks, I don't trust this guy. And all the other racists in the country are like, yeah, we don't trust this guy. No, like, so a whistle is heard and the dog retreats and, and it's like she was moments away from shooting herself. The language of the filmmaking here, the way it's edited, made me convinced, like, not even like I'd worked it out, like I'm just anticipating this now. It was going to cut back to Topher Grace in a tree holding a whistle. And they'd pull him down from the tree and push him up against it and be like, what do you know? Where did you get the whistle from? Like, it looks like it's setting that reveal up. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, sure.
It looks like that. I guess, yeah, I was just like, well, okay. And then later on, he steals Nikolai, who's one of the other guys. He steals the photo of his kids so he can fake being sympathetic. And then he fakes being maimed. He gets his foot caught in a bear trap thing and then pretends, I presume he's pretending because he walks fine later on. It all feels like it's a double agent reveal. And then at some point, they lost the will to make it that. And we're just like, he could just be a murderer.
Oh, he can just say he's a murderer. It's fine.
That's it. He can just say he's a murderer. We're not shown him being a murderer. We're not shown, like, he just says it. It's ridiculous line.
How do we show that he's a murderer? We'll just have him say it. I've always been so intrigued by the casting of Adrian Brody in this film. Like, since watching the trailer back in 2009 or 10, like, just always thinking, he's an interesting choice for this kind of film. And then, you asked me what's Adrian Brody in, and it's like, he's in The Pianist, King Kong, Predators, and a film called Inappropriate Comedy, which looks like garbage.
I've not heard of this.
Oh, I think Rob Schneider's in it. It's like a sketch film, and it's very much one of those low how the mighty have fallen kind of films. And inappropriate comedy. He plays Flirty Harry.
That's pretty funny.
It looks, he plays a cop who, with a repertoire of double entendres, patrols the streets of San Francisco. And I just remember the bit of the trailer where he's like, allow me to push your stool in. And he, like, pushes a stool. Anyway.
When did this movie come out?
22, I think 2010.
Okay. I'd never heard of it.
It came out 2013, sorry. Anywho, it's got Lindsay Lohan in it as well. So, but the thing is, watching the film, I'm like, okay, he's not really doing anything interesting with the character. It's just a guy who doesn't look like the character he's supposed to be playing. Like, do something interesting with the fact that you've got Adrian Brody, who's he's famous for having a leading man's ego but a character actor's face.
Right.
And he's just doing, a Jason Statham Batman impression.
A Jason Statham Batman impression.
Yeah.
When did Jason Statham play Batman?
Predators.
Well, Richard, this is only, speaking of Adrian Brody, this is only our first Adrian Brody franchise that we've covered.
Only our first.
Only our first. But this is our fourth Topher Grace franchise after Spider-Man 3 and Ocean's 11/12. Our fourth Walton Goggins movie after Shanghai Noon, Machete Kills, and Ant-Man and the Wasp. And our sixth from a guy who played one of the Predators named Derek Mears after Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, Pirates of the Caribbean on Strange Tides, two films which feel tonally similar in a franchise to Predators, like this kind of like the forgotten sequel kind of thing. Zathura, Friday the 13th from 2009, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from 2014.
Oh, God, I'd love to see the Predator just beat the shit out of him.
However, we're also looking at Lawrence Fishburne's ninth film for film franchise Fortnights, after Ant-Man and the Wasp, Mission Impossible 3, A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, TMNT, and of course all four Matrix movies, though I didn't think he was in the fourth one, but
He's not in the fourth one. I guess they use archival footage.
Yeah. Putting all these stats to shame,
and because he was like, I just wasn't asked.
Putting all these stats to shame, though, we're also graced with film franchise Fortnight's favourite bad boy, Danny Trejo, who makes his 15th appearance in a film franchise Fortnite film in Predators. After From Dusk Till Dawn, From Dusk Till Dawn 2,
Harold and Kumar Christmas.
Harold and Kumar Christmas, Spy Kids 2, 3, and 4, or Spy Kids 1, 2, 3, and 4, Machete 2, Desperado, Once Upon a Time in Mexico, and Rob Zombie's Halloween. This definitely has a correlation, I think, to Robert Rodriguez being one of our most watched directors, but it graduates Trejo into the 9th most featured actor in film franchise Fortnights, and if you subtract voice actors who tend to show up in a lot more film franchises than on-screen actors, he's the 3rd most seen actor we've covered on the podcast, behind Desmond Llewellyn, who has 17 Bond movies, and Sylvester Stallone on 18. So that's our leaderboard.
Well, hot fucking damn. Danny Trejo's probably best poised to become first.
Yeah, absolutely. Just need to watch the right franchises.
Yeah, he was on Anchorman.
No, he wasn't.
Apparently.
Well, that not according to IMDb, to Letterboxd.
According to Wikipedia, he is.
Who's he playing Anchorman?
It says he went on to star in a multitude of other films, including Desperado, From Dusk Till Dawn, Con Air, From Dusk Till Dawn 2, Texas Blood Money, From Dusk Till Dawn 3, The Handmaid's Daughter, Reindeer Games, Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy, and Grindhouse.
Danny Trejo.
He's the bartender at the jazz flute scene, isn't he?
Oh, he is too. Huh, well, I've discovered a mistake on Letterboxd that they didn't list. Or maybe it's my mistake. Maybe I just didn't...
Yeah. Did you have Muppets Most Wanted as well?
No.
Good night, Danny Trejo.
Let's see. Okay, show watched films. Muppets Most Wanted's on here, but Anchorman is not.
Wow.
Maybe it's an uncredited appearance. That's probably what it is.
No, still Letterboxd would normally do that.
Strange. Well, anyway.
Interesting. Hashtag justice for Danny.
This film, Predators, is the first film from either Alien or Predator to come out after both Alien vs. Predator films, which I'm very excited about watching. Boy, is the hype risen for Alien vs. Predator 1 and 2.
Who are you rooting for?
Well, it doesn't matter because whoever wins, we lose.
Nice. Yeah, very good.
It's actually, I think it's very evident that this is the first post-AVP film from either franchise, because I'd even argue that it being titled Predators is an indirect reference to aliens being called aliens.
I think it's a direct reference.
Yeah, and I actually don't need to argue this, Richard, not only because you agree with me, but because Robert Rodriguez went as far as to confirm this. And also the Berserker Predator, as it's called, which is the final boss Predator, is wearing a mask made from a xenomorph skull, but you can't really tell the movie, but he is.
Especially when I wave them like this. That's a Finding Nemo reference.
Nice. That being said, for a film called Predators, Are there any big scenes where the characters take on multiple predators at once? Like, there's no equivalent to Aliens where they're all crawling through the vents and stuff.
Well, I will say though that I think the title is meant as a double entendre,
that's true.
in that the predators also refers to the human characters.
And you don't need to argue this, Richard, because this is outright said by the characters in the film at one point. And everyone watching goes like,
Day.
Robert Rodriguez wrote the script for what was this final script was heavily based on. He wrote it in 1994. It was dug up 15 years later by some 20th Century Fox producers who believed this was where the series should have gone. And both Rodriguez and Nimrod have said that they don't consider Predator 2 to be canon, which is interesting.
Wow.
This makes sense because Isabel, there's Alice Braga's character, at one point they're like, you know what they are, tell us what they are, and she's like, Guatemala, 1987, a bunch of paramilitary, one survived, there were 2 survivors or whatever, and it's like, and if Predator 2
one was also in LA.
yeah, exactly. And like, it got me thinking, because there's that exchange in Jurassic Park 3 where he's like, and put your hands down if your question is about the San Francisco incident, which I was also not present for. And it's like, I wonder what the name of the trope is of character quickly acknowledging previous sequels in a franchise that doesn't really like need you to acknowledge previous sequels. Yeah. And it must happen even less commonly with anything other than the first film, like in this case, But in the Predator, they do acknowledge both films, so there you go, both. But they don't acknowledge Predators. But there is a reason for that. So
it hasn't happened yet.
Adrian Brody. So his character's name is Royce. His final hurrah is he's like, I'm gonna go release the tied up Predator and I'm gonna convince him to let me fly back to Earth on his spaceship. And he gets as far as he frees him and he communicates this message to him, and then you see the ship fly away, and then the good Predator, quote unquote, gets killed by the Berserker Predator, and then the Berserker Predator presses a button on his wrist and the ship blows up. And for a moment you think Adrian Brody's dead till he turns up to save the day. I think Adrian Brody should have died on the ship, because he's a terrible protagonist. His change of heart is never signposted until the first time you get any indication that he's softening is when he changes his heart and goes back for Isabella.
Right.
And saves her from Topher Grace. And it's so stupid. It's like, it would have been a much cooler movie if, you think you're following this one character, but he just refuses to have a moral center, and then he flies away on the ship, and then the ship blows up and he's just died. Because you've got a perfectly good protagonist in Alice Braga, so let her save the day and finish, kill off your red herring protagonist and let the actual good-hearted character, whose life is harder because she's a good person, let her become the hero of the story, I guess.
Can't have that.
Yeah, Adrian Brody does get to yell, "Do it, kill me, I'm here, come on," though, which is the "do it, kill me." It's the famous Arnold Schwarzenegger line, and it's always funny watching
kill me.
watching
I'm here.
Any sequels to iconic first movies where they're like, all right, which line shall we bring back in an interesting way? Because the Predator franchise is full of this, and Danny Glover calls the Predator an ugly motherfoot before he gets beaten up.
Motherfoot.
There's a get to the chopper line in this one. It's full of this shit. Or is it in the next one? I can't remember. Anyway.
Yeah, in Prey, she's like, there's someone that's chopping stuff.
Oh, we do have a comment about this.
Get to the chopper.
Did you know that?
Oh no.
There's a Cult Elders comment that's basically you've just ruined someone's joke, you bastard. You mentioned before that the ending is sets up a sequel, but because it doesn't have a sequel, it's such a shit ending, because the ship blows up and that was the only way off, so they kill the main bad Predator, and then it's just Adrian Brody and Alice Braga left alive, and they look up in the sky and see a bunch of other parachutes falling down because Lawrence Fishburne.
The game is about to begin again.
Yeah, Lawrence Fishburne explained that there's hunting seasons, and he's long gone and dead now, and was
rabbit season.
very much it's something they added to the film to like fill out about 20 minutes because he's pretty inconsequential. But Lawrence Fishburne's character is like, he's like, I've been here for 10 seasons. But how long's a season? Didn't they just land here like a day ago? So it was a season.
Yeah, so it's
2
always
days?
been there like a month.
Yeah.
7,
exactly.
no, 10 seasons.
Yeah,
it's like,
it's
okay,
been there for hardly any time
3
at all.
weeks.
But they're watching these parachutes go down, and Adrian Brody says, "Now we got to figure out how to get off this fucking planet." And it's like, well, that's where the characters were 20 minutes ago.
You've always been wanting to.
Yeah.
All you've done in this film is try to get off the fucking planet.
And the climax was you killed a predator on a planet full of them. You haven't done anything.
In a film called Predators, plural.
You haven't done anything. It's not like you're safe now. It's not like it's such a stupid. It's so unsatisfying. It wasn't supposed to be the ending, though, to be fair. Rodriguez, Nimrod, and Adrian Brody have all talked about wanting to do more sequels. I've got some quotes here. Nimrod said, "There are so many great ideas. Just following Lawrence Fishburne's character around in a prequel would be a great movie. Just the tales he tells in this movie alone. I want to see those experiences." For all 3 weeks that he had those experiences. That's why I wasn't precious even about the original script I have, because once you come up with the idea of a predator planet, the predators use as their hunting grounds, and the humans are involved in them somehow, the story ideas that you can come up with are so numerous that you can come up with any approach. So we already have several ideas that we can go for with a sequel. They would all be good ideas, but we would probably put them together to see which ones rise to the top if we made another one. Rodriguez said, the studio said, let's do some other ones. What other story ideas do you have? Because it was like, let's test out the market with this one. They really wanted it to be pretty contained, pretty scaled back. They didn't want to put too many of the ideas into it so that we could save for a second one. So we could see what the appetite was, because the bigger movie would actually be what comes following that. That kind of sets up a new storyline, a new location and world, and then you can really go crazy from there. And Adrian Brody...
Go fucking buck wild.
Yeah, absolutely. Adrian Brody cementing himself as one of the, like, maybe least self-aware, self-serious actors, said this of a second film and his character. I think a lot of that is determined by the success of the film, and I don't think that far ahead. The idea of reprising the role and going farther into the character is interesting to me. It would be exciting to watch a character progress or deteriorate. That's exciting for an actor. I thoroughly enjoyed playing Royce. Again, part of the attraction is I'm oddly drawn to the material that affects me on an emotional level, and characters that are dealing with things that are challenging that I would question, that I'm not so familiar with. Royce has an emotional arc in this that most of the characters I've played don't come close to possessing. That's an interesting thing to cultivate. What are you talking about? You play like a cardboard man in this movie. You don't have an emotional arc.
His transformative performance in The Pianist.
It's such a weird character to isolate and be like, and specifically say my other characters aren't as deep as this guy. It's so weird, and it's all talk, Richard, because
it's so
apparently
weird.
This is canonically the last entry in the series, as the Predator is set before. So the Predator is set before Predators, and they never made a sequel to Predators. I don't think they ever will. I think the future of Predator lies in the past.
How did you do that?
How did you do that? The Predator came out in 2018. This was directed by Shane Black, who wrote Lethal Weapon, directed Iron Man 3, and also plays a main character in Predator. He plays Hawkins in Predator, the first character to die. So that's kind of interesting.
One thing that I might be mentioned in Cult Elders, but something that we skipped over that a lot of people talk about when it comes to Predator is the credits.
The creditors.
The credits of Predator.
Why?
I feel like we'd be remiss not to say anything about them because it's one of the biggest talking points of Predator.
Oh, like the characters, the Full House opening sequence.
Yeah. Because I've had a big Predator fan, Julian Josland, who should be listening to this because he's such a big Predator fan. Was talking to him last week, a week or so ago, and he was talking about the Predator credits, and I've seen people talk on Reddit. In fact, I think there was a Reddit post
The
today
Reddit.
about how the the credits for Predator are the greatest in cinematic history, and it's these little. It does a very strange thing for this kind of movie where it shows little moments of people out of character, of the actors out of character, and smiling and laughing, and then it has their name and title come up. And yeah, I'm curious to get your thoughts on it, because I've seen this so many times. Like, I don't know how or why, but I've seen the credits for Predator dozens of times. But yeah, it's a very interesting easing you out of the film, I guess, which is probably why they did it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a strange edit, and I'd have to wonder what went through the mind of the editor of Predator that inspired that Redditor to talk about the credits at Predator.
Very nice.
Laughing like the Predator at the end of the first one. It's pretty. Yeah, it's very strange, and you don't see anything else like it in the series. I think I don't know, like. We'll see if we talk about it in Cold Elders, but I don't know if I. It feels just like one of those things from the 80s that doesn't happen anymore. That I'm like, whatever. It was the 80s.
Yeah, like the Berlin Wall.
Yeah, exactly. Or yeah. So the Predator 2018, directed by Shane Black. So he was in the first one. He directed Iron Man 3, wrote Lethal Weapon. Also the director of Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, which is one of my favorite movies, and then a spiritual sequel to Kiss Kiss Bang Bang that a lot of people incorrectly regard as the better film, called The Nice Guys. And so a lot of cool stuff under this guy's belt. He's obviously familiar with the franchise. What do you think this one has on Rotten Tomatoes?
31%.
33%, which technically makes it higher than Predator 2, though I think it is significantly worse than Predator 2. Yeah, this movie sucks. This is so bad. What's it about? Can you tell me?
So there's a bunch of mercenaries that like randomly placed together. They get there's like a bunch of soldiers who get
They're like discharged.
They band together to take down dishonorable discharge.
Dishonorably discharged soldiers, yeah.
Yeah, so they band together with a hot, sexy scientist to take down some predators with the power of autism.
That's essentially it. Yeah, Boyd Holbrook plays one of the main character in the film. His son, played by Jacob Tremblay, has autism, which in the world of Predator means you're very smart and have superpowers and are the next evolution.
Yeah, it's referred
humanity.
to as the next step in human evolution is autism.
Yeah.
And so the predators are trying to steal Jacob Tremblay's autism so that they can evolve to be the next
because of climate
evolved.
because climate change is rendering the planet useless, and therefore the predators want to get in on this autism before the world is uninhabitable.
They want to get in on this autism on the ground floor.
Isn't it weird that a movie called The Predator has two predators in it?
Like you're making a distinction that there's one in your title.
And it's like not even clear which one it's talking about. According to IMDb, though, the lab in which the Predator is held in the film at the beginning contains display cases which have artifacts from previous Predator films in them, 2 Predator masks from Predator 2, and AVP, Alien vs. Predator, and the retractable spear from Predator 2, the shoulder blaster from Alien vs. Predator, and the custom-made spear with a xenomorph tail from Alien vs. Predator. Although the crossover movies, Alien vs. Predator, were all but decanonized from the Alien franchise in the wake of the release of the prequel Prometheus, no such thing has occurred for the Predator series, and so the events of AVP movies may still remain part of the overall Predator continuity. So it's that kind of situation. They're not going to come here, but we'll still acknowledge. The Predator was always punching up when it was guest starring with Alien, I guess, anyway.
Yeah, sure.
What did you think?
It's the Friday the 13th of the franchise. It's the Jason.
What did you think of The Predator?
It's bad.
I'd seen this one. I went to the movies to see this one.
I remember you seeing it.
And
we weren't living together at this time, were we?
No, I was back in Christchurch, 2018.
Damn.
You want to know why I went to the theatre to see it?
Because you had a crush on someone.
I really like Shane Black as a director.
That's
I think
right.
he's a great director, and how tragic I trusted him. It's actually like a situation like that where I was like, I trusted you, Shane Black, and this is what you made. It sucks. This movie's so bad. You get movies where like, like a movie where it's like it's a pretty good movie, but then something really stupid happens in it and it ruins it for you. An example for me personally would be X-24 in Logan. I think ruins the movie, which is otherwise like a great movie. But this is an example of the much less potent and much less heartbreaking movie that's already bad and then something stupid happens. And I think the two X-24s of this movie are related, but it's the bit where the predator gets killed by a larger, bigger predator, and then they speak to each other and it's subtitled. Why the hell are we being given subtitled predators? Like that's like a betrayal of the like narrative point of view of the film, Like we shouldn't understand what they're saying, and what they're saying doesn't really add anything to the story either. It's so bad.
It's like in Godzilla. Hey,
angry. And similarly, there's a part at the end where they just casually mention they've made a translator, and the predator talks to them in English through the translator. I was like, oh my god, that is so stupid. It's so like, and it uses like diction and like grammar and
syntax,
like stuff that wouldn't. Like a foreign language wouldn't, or an intergalactic language wouldn't be able to like. I just thought it was so bad.
Yeah, I want you to share your observation about this movie because I messaged you about something.
It's all in here, dude. I've written a lot already. I'm gonna get to it. Don't you worry.
I just want my favorite line in the film, and she's like, "Did you see that? He just grew an exoskeleton under his skin, which would make it a skeleton."
I actually,
or probably an endoskeleton.
Credit to you. I actually repeated that joke to my flatmate who was watching it with me. So thank you for writing some jokes for me. Yeah, I do have a perspective on that. I will get to that soon. Let's get through a bit of admin first because that's the fun nougat at the center of this conversation, and I want to get through all the
fun nougat
first.
There's a bloody oxymoron.
You don't like nougat?
I take it or leave it.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Let's leave nougat in the 2010s.
Arnold Schwarzenegger turned down an opportunity to return as Dutch in this film, which marks the fourth time he has declined to reprise his role. He didn't do Predator 2 for the reasons we talked about, and then he couldn't do the Alien vs. Predator movies because he was governor of California. And then he just said no to Predators, which you could say was for like another similar reason, but he did have a major part in Terminator Dark Fate that same year. So, is he really too busy?
But he appears in Prey.
Yeah, imagine that. The original ending of this script featured a cameo by Dutch, and after defeating the Super Predator, which is the suit that sets up a sequel, their second abandoned sequel thread. Dutch would turn up, and he was described in the script as a face haunted, etched by pain, and he would tell the three of them being Quinn, Casey, and Rory, the Jacob Tremblay's character. He would tell them that they have to come with him.
That they need to get to the chopper.
Yeah, and Jacob Tremblay would say, does this include me? And Dutch replies, especially you, because this kid is the next evolution of humanity. The Predators want him. Everyone wants him. This would likely have been a setup for a major role for Dutch and Rory in the sequel, but Schwarzenegger read the script and turned the offer down and didn't want to have a mere cameo. So he single-handedly stopped all of this from becoming much worse.
Talking about alternate endings, do you have on your notes the other alternate ending which was actually filmed?
No, tell me what this was.
So there was filmed, I don't think it's ever been released, but a filmed ending for The Predator had a different cameo, played by a body double, but a cameo, and I think there was actually two different cameo shot. One was from Ellen Ripley. The other was Newt. And so there's a stunt woman who is confirmed that she, in an alternate ending for The Predator, played both Newt and Sigourney Weaver in an ending to this film.
Wow, fuck that, eh?
Yeah.
Fuck.
yeah.
Fuck that. Yeah. I thought the most interesting character in the film was the human antagonist played by Sterling K. Brown, who just has a lot of fun chewing the scenery. He's a fun character.
He's a great actor, yeah.
Yeah. And guess, do you remember how he dies at the end of this film?
Lethally.
So he's such an important character. He's probably the third most important character in the plot, next to Boyd Holbrook and Jacob Tremblay.
Yeah.
And he dies. And
yes, yeah.
They're having like a final final standoff with the Predator, and main characters are dying left and right. Keegan-Michael Key dies. The guy from Expanse dies. Alfie Allen dies. Like, everyone's dying, and then Sterling K. Brown is like picks up like a piece of Predator tech, and then someone calls his name or something, and he turns and it just blows his head off in a blink and you'll miss it moment before the end of the movie. He should have been on the ship that they jump on as it flies away. He should have survived right to the end and then get killed. But it is insane how important of a character he is to be killed off in such a stupid, thoughtless way. And for the record, this is in fact our third Sterling K. Brown film, after Black Panther and Frozen 2. It's also our fourth Olivia Munn film, after Iron Man 2, Ocean's 8, and X-Men Apocalypse. And this was interesting, Richard. This is also, this film features a secondary character played by Michael Dopard, who we've seen in X-Men Days of Future Past, X-Men Origins Wolverine, Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, Final Destination 5, Snow Buddies and Space Buddies, and there's also Lachlan Monroe, who we've seen before in Scary Movie, Freddy vs. Jason, Space Buddies, Treasure Buddies, and also Gary Chalk, who we've seen in Godzilla 2014, Freddy vs. Jason, and then 8 Barbie movies. Do you want to know which ones? Or do you not care?
I don't care.
Sweet, I wrote them down just in case, but... people can look up.
Also,
Gary Chalk,
the Alan Ripley and Newt ending, just by the way, was that they were going to show up having travelled back in time as the Predator killer.
Of course, because they would be in the future,
and it's going to be it was going to set up an Alien vs Predator sequel.
Oh, very cool. That's what people wanted in 2018 was Alien vs Predator 3. I beg your pardon. There's another actor, though, who we nearly saw. There's all sorts of actors we nearly see in this. We nearly saw Sigourney Weaver, nearly saw Newt, but there's another actor who we nearly saw in this, and we could have said, oh, he was in Iron Man 3. I could have been like, it's the second time we've seen this guy after Iron Man 3, but his scenes were deleted. And I want you to hold on to something, because we're going to make a bumpy landing into Problematic Corner.
Ooh! This didn't age well. Let's get a laugh at someone else's expense. I have to warn you, this might get obscene. This the Problematic Corner where ain't nothing PC.
So, welcome to Problematic Corner, which we haven't done in a while, which is where we examine something that isn't great about a franchise. It's usually we'd describe it as dated, but is something happening in 2018 dated, or is it just a shitty decision made by the filmmaker?
This is post Me Too.
Yep, exactly. Content warning, this involves grooming, I guess, is the term you could say, but director Shane Black hired his longtime friend Stephen Wilder Striegel, known professionally as Steve Wilder, for a minor unauditioned role in The Predator, in which his character repeatedly tries to flirt with Olivia Munn's character. Wilder has been a registered felony sex offender since 2010, when he pled guilty to enticing a minor by computer after he attempted to lure a 14-year-old girl into a sexual relationship via email. A few days before a picture lock on the film, Munn became aware of Wilder's history and approached Fox executives insisting the scene be removed. it gets worse. Well, actually, that's probably the worst part, but it doesn't get any better. Shane Black defended his casting decision and his friend
So bad.
until later issuing a public apology and rescinding those comments due to backlash. Fox released a statement saying that they were unaware of Wilder's status and confirming that the scene from the film had been cut. Co-star Sterling K. Brown tweeted his support of Munn, but initially most other actors on the film remained silent, releasing statements after mounting public pressure.
It's
pretty shitty.
so bad.
Pretty shitty.
I remember...
And just still being friends with someone after they were outed as a pedophile.
Yeah, I do remember this happening, and it was like, Predator to be removed from the Predator.
Very good.
But yeah, it was like very, very late in the game that they, it says a few days before picture lock.
I mean, it sounds like it was a pretty inconsequential scene anyway. And a shitty movie, so ultimately, whatever. But...
might have been the best scene of the film.
Joining the above controversies, the above statement or the above story in the controversies section on the film's Wikipedia page, we can also read the following paragraph. The Predator also suggests not only that autistic persons who exhibit savant qualities and other forms of neurodiversity are or were advantageous, but that they represent a forward step in the human evolutionary path. According to the scientific opinions reported by Sci-Fi Wire, such a thesis would have some issues. A New York Post review ends by stating, "But worse is a plotline involving autism and a dubious scientific theory that will leave parents fuming." In a review for Uproxx, Emma Stefanski called the film's depiction of autism maybe the worst thing I have seen in a film this year, and scolds the filmmakers for their depiction of these issues, especially the idea that autism equals really smart. It's a weird thing to base a plot around. I can see, there's an argument that it's trying to be positive about it, but it's so ham-fisted. It's so horribly handled in a movie which, interestingly, has an actor who has Tourette's in real life display Tourette's in the film in a way that's I don't think particularly controversial. So it's like there's I feel, I don't know. It's such a annoying. You've misunderstood how progressive thinking works, the idea to be positive and represent an autistic character is maybe a good thing, but doing it this way to enhance your silly sci-fi movie is so bad. It's so bad. Now, Richard, after I've read all of this out, you might find this a strange time for where I choose to half-heartedly defend this film. Or at least Shane Black as a filmmaker. And look, I'm not going to go as far to say there's gold in them, there hills. But there are flashes in this movie where I feel like I can see what Shane Black was going for. When I first saw Kiss Kiss Bang Bang when I was 13, I thought it was so incredible. I thought it was one of the things I loved the most about it was how cheeky it was, how rug pulley it was. Is that a term? With shit like Robert Downey Jr. accidentally pisses on a dead body at one point, and he gets his fingers get cut off when a door slams on him, and all these really I want to call it inappropriate things, the disrespectful things happen, and it propels the plot forward, and there's real stakes, and characters' lives are changed and have these experiences which are so darkly comedic, and it works so well in that film. And I think that there's a no one is safe attitude to it. And this shows up in The Nice Guys as well, and can totally be seen in moments of Iron Man 3, like when Iron Man gets hit by the truck after saving all the people from falling out of the plane, and probably more significantly the Mandarin twist, where you find out that the Mandarin's actually just a British actor, that's textbook Shane Black, I think. And I think Shane Black is probably more responsible for the Marvel undercut, or the bathos, which everyone is now sick of, than maybe people always blaming Joss Whedon and stuff, and it's
it's totally Joss Whedon.
Nah, but Shane Black fueled the fire, I think, with Iron Man.
I think
I like what he did in Iron Man 3. Don't get me wrong. I think it's great. Yeah. But I'm saying...
when I think of the OG Marvel undercut, I think of the Hulk smashing Loki.
Well, that's also good. It's also great.
Yeah. But then, so maybe I think that...
Where did people get sick of it, I guess?
Maybe it peaked with that, and then Shane Black's,
aped it.
Mandarin twist is when people started to turn on it.
Right. Yeah. I can see these directing trademarks in The Predator. Back when I did video essays, I mulled over doing a in defense of The Predator video where I talked about
glad
these
you
things.
didn't do that.
No, some
In defense of
The
Steve
Predator.
Wilder.
Yeah. You can see these directing trademarks, especially in some of the supporting cast. As I said, you've got Keegan Michael Key, who's I think he's pretty funny in the film,
Goofball. Absolute goofball.
Absolute riot.
Barrel of
There's a very MCU-esque conversation that recurs throughout the film about what we were talking about before, how the Predator isn't technically a predator. It's like a misnomer to call it a predator. And there's a handful of scenes that I think are brimming with Shane Black's writing. There's a brief sequence in the film where Olivia Munn is trying to shoot the Predator with a tranquilizer gun, and she's on top of a moving bus that's being driven by the other characters. And she accidentally shoots herself in the foot with a tranquilizer dart. And so now she can't move while trying to shoot the Predator. And then when the bus comes to a halt, McKenna, who's Boyd Holbrook's character, is like, come on, I'll catch you, jump down. And then he gets briefly distracted and she takes too long and she just thumps on the ground. And it's funny. It's a great joke. And this is the kind of sequence that would be right at home in The Nice Guys or Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Imagine, instead of Boyd Holbrook, imagine Robert Downey Jr. from Kiss Kiss Bang Bang doing the I'll catch you. I can see it so clearly in my mind's eye. And for some reason, it just does not stand out here. It's not that it doesn't work. I don't think anyone saw the Predator.
It doesn't stand out because the whole rest of the film's so good.
I think because no one when reviewing the Predator goes and it doesn't take itself seriously. That's not the complaint with the Predator. But it's these moments of Shane Black's writing are lost in the genericism of the rest of the film. And it's a case of mismatched sense of style. I think these moments either don't work or you just completely forget they were in the movie. And because Shane Black is famously such a specific authorial voice, but I feel like it's subdued here, and it almost feels like they got him to do a pass of the script, and then they were like, all right, let's smooth out some of these things so that they're not jokes anymore. You're talking about the endo-exoskeleton thing. It's in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, that line would be, he's growing an exoskeleton under his skin, and then another character would smack them and be an exoskeleton, that's just a normal skeleton.
It's an endoskeleton.
Yeah. You know what I mean? That could be a line in a Shane Black film. And as we've learnt from things like Iron Man 3, which I do like, but I can acknowledge its flaws, a film that is only half Shane Black doesn't work. It's got to be full Shane Black, because look at his 4 movies. And we learned from the Snyder Cut. Totally. No, that's a great point. Is there a black cut of the Predator? Yes, there is. It has the sex offender in it.
That's the only difference. And it ties everything together.
Yeah.
Every punchline is in that scene.
But the dude has directed 4 films, and 2 of those films everyone loves, and 2 of those films, one of them people hate and one of them is divisive. And it's because it's this confusing half measure of the directorial voice that I think needs to be full for it to work. Black guest starred on an episode of a podcast called Post Mortem this year, where he addressed some of the movie's failures. So another director actually acknowledging what was wrong with their movie. And he said something pretty interesting. He said, "I'm not going to take the road of blaming anyone, including the studio, for a failed movie. We tried something different. In retrospect, talking a finger on the pulse, I guess we just didn't have that finger. We were making a drive-in movie, and it seems like what now is attracting so much attention is this wonderful art piece which just came out, talking about Prey, which is echoes of Kubrick. That maybe is something we should have done instead, but who knows? We tried something different. It was a Halloween drive-in movie, not just a drive-in movie, one you go to on Halloween when you were a kid. The Predator had such a rock-solid fan base of people expecting that sort of portentous, solemn, and almost reverential approach to this myth. The mythic quality of the Predator is what people seem to respond to, so chalk it up as we tried something, and in some people's eyes, we made the wrong movie. We filmed the wrong script for what they would have preferred. I'm okay with that, and own any and all mistakes made on the film."
Nice.
You think this guy's going to work again?
I'm sure he will. I mean, maybe as a screenwriter.
Yeah, but he's not like he's a bad director. He's just... What's he up to? Is there any stuff?
He's doing a Nice Guys TV show, isn't he?
Really? That would be cool. Oh, he's got the Predator casting controversy is on his Wikipedia page.
That's what happens.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's got nothing. I can't see anything on the horizon. Yeah, I don't know.
Damn.
I've conflicted feelings about this guy now. Like I don't know what
Mm.
to think about him anymore.
Yeah, poor guy. He's announced to be doing the screenplay for Play Dirty and Doc Savage,
Okay.
and also Lethal Weapon 5 as characters by.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's right. That movie's still happening, despite the whole one of the main voices being dead and the other two like crotchety old men.
Mm.
Do you have anything else you wanted to say about The Predator?
Play Dirty's. Sorry, this isn't about the Predator. This is about Shane Black's upcoming. He's directing as well. Follows Parker, a no-nonsense and professional thief who approaches his job with a straightforward, no-nonsense work ethic, and he is also deadly. It stars Robert Downey Jr. as Parker.
Oh, cool. That'd be good to
I
see.
love how it's just, and he is also deadly. And he's also Doc Savage, the Man of Bronze. Was raised from childhood by a team of scientists to become the original superhero of the 1930s, a man of great mental and physical strength. He went around the world battling larger-than-life villains, starring Dwayne Johnson as Doc Savage.
Is Doc Savage based on something?
I think it's, pre-existing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Right.
like old school.
Oh, nice. Is he directing that or just writing it?
Directing, apparently.
Nice. Well,
But this is one of those things where it's like, probably not going to happen.
right, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, as of 2020, it was development was being shifted to a TV series.
I guess I don't understand, like, the guy, made his name off Lethal Weapon and then made a very similar to Lethal Weapon movie that was great. Like, this guy could have made his career out of doing, like, comedic noir crime movies. I don't know what's attracted him to something like The Predator.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have to worry about it because in 2022, Richard, not a few weeks ago, we got the release of Prey, directed by Dan Trachtenberg, of course, the director of 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Yeah, only his second film.
Only his
Taken a
second
long
film.
time.
Do you know what it has on Rotten Tomatoes?
It's like 95.
93, so it is the highest rated Predator film. And how often is a distant fifth sequel the best rated film in a series? I think that's very significant and interesting. What is it about?
So it's set on the Great Plains. Back in the olden days, 1719. And so it's a Comanche warrior trying to prove herself as a hunter, and then protects her people from a predator as well as some fur traders.
Some
French
players.
assholes.
French assholes.
And we also meet Raphael Adelini, who is the owner of the pistol seen in Predator 2, and we actually see the pistol as well.
Yes. So we did a whole episode a few weeks back on pitching period piece prequels, and you hadn't seen this at the time. I had, and we didn't.
And I talked about how deeply uninterested I was in it.
At least we didn't talk about Prey in depth, because who would have known we would be here not a few weeks later covering it for the podcast again. Yeah. 2 movies this franchise I had to rewatch for the first time in the space of probably 90 days. So. What did you think of Prey, now that you've seen it?
Prey is pretty good.
Hey! That's the review.
Yeah,
you're literally a film reviewer, and that's like your opening statement.
My headline for my DC League of Super Pets review, this may change, it's going through an editor, is DC League of Super Pets is so fetched.
I think that'll get changed. So,
it probably will.
Luckily, you said it here. The note you get back is like, "Stop trying to make fetch happen."
Yeah. So I don't know. This time period doesn't particularly interest me. Predator doesn't particularly interest me. So the idea of Prey, a lot of people told me it was really good, and I was just like, I don't know. And I think like it didn't necessarily do anything amazing. There's nothing like that really blew my mind in it. It's just a very solid, man versus force of nature kind of movie.
Woman versus force of
even though it's a woman and it's a force of something from outside of nature. But but yeah, I think that Amber Midthunder is, we're gonna see big things from her. It's a very star-making performance.
Yeah, totally.
And yeah, I mean, there's like it's one of those things where, like, just the imagery is really cool. Like the idea of, I mean, it's the poster for the film, but it's a spoiler. Is that like her with the Predator's glowy green blood, like as face paint, they're wearing as a sort of proof that she's killed the Predator. It's cool, yeah, like the glowing green blood. What did you think of it?
I love this film. I think it's one of my favorites of the year, and I think it's easily the best film in the franchise, if only because the original films, maybe ironic, maybe serious, macho, bravado nature has dated a bit. But even then, I thought this is just such a smart and intelligently told story. I love like it's called Prey, and there's such a focus on the like idea of what prey is. Like there's one scene where you see an ant get eaten by a squirrel or rat, and then the rat gets eaten by a snake, and then the snake gets killed by the predator. And it's like it's prey, baby. That's what it's about. It's about this food chain. And like I think that's a really cool like series of like there's a few sequences like that in the film. I've seen it twice now. I've watched the English version originally, and I watched the Comanche dub, which we'll talk about just a second, for the second time. And I'd say, for those wanting to know like a review of both dubs, the English version just feels, that's how they shot it, so it feels more seamless. I didn't think the Comanche dub was great, but that
like some
said,
scenes were shot in both.
Yeah.
And then the remaining scenes were dubbed.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, no, there's a lot of scenes where you don't see people talking. You just hear them and shit like that.
Yeah.
So that's fine. But whenever you see mouths moving and it's lip synced over, it's like, it's not perfect. It's not like and like I think the a lot of the emotion feels lost. It feels like in some sense they're not recapturing the emotion of the like English version.
That's interesting because I found, and it's one of those things like Chernobyl, people were like, and that they just had British accents, and they said, they're not going to have everyone do Russian accents because if you're going to do that, well, we may as well have them speak Russian. That like, I'm usually for that kind of thing, and so the idea of like having sort of anachronistic language, I don't really have a problem with. But at the same time, watching the film, I did think it took me out a little bit that it was. And it was kind of like not enough to switch to the Comanche dub, but enough that I was like, this should have no dialogue. Like this film should have minimal dialogue. There should be no conversations in this film. It should just be and I think that was sort of that's my only real complaint, I would say, is that I think that the film and the tone of it all very much lends itself to a sort of a much quieter or less dialogue kind of film.
Yeah, I mean, I think it should have just been done in Comanche, like originally, and like I agree with the Chernobyl thing, and Dan Trachtenberg referred to it as the Hunt for Red October thing. Which, because you'll remember there was a bit of confusion when they said, and there's going to be a Comanche version, and everyone's like, what do you mean? Like they recorded all the scenes twice? The Hunt for Red October thing refers to where the characters in Hunt for Red October speak Russian before transitioning to English. He said that they never quite came up with a way to make it work, so instead the film was shot in English and Comanche. Both languages are spoken, but when you hear English, it's as if it's Comanche. He said that, but what Jean is speaking to, I think this person he was doing an interview with, on Hulu, there will be a Comanche dub of the movie, so you can watch the entire movie in Comanche with the original actors returning to perform their roles. In an interview with Empire, Trachtenberg went on to say there's lip match, so choosing words to match the actor's mouth movements as closely as possible, that we do now, so it won't be like watching old kung fu movies. It's not that bad, but it is distracting. It's not kung fu movie distracting though. I think I agree that with Chernobyl, for example, that it's like, just do it in English, whatever. It doesn't matter. But I think specifically because we're talking about like an indigenous culture, and it's an indigenous culture in a story about like their land being invaded, I think there's like a iffiness to not doing it in Comanche when that was clearly an option.
Yeah, and I think that the director being, white.
Yeah, doesn't help. Yeah. It would appear, though, that none of the actors in Prey have appeared in any Barbie movies, nor any other film franchise Fortnights movie. The only actor I recognised was Amber Midthunder, who was in Legion, which I watched a little bit of, and she's really good in that. In an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, Dan Trachtenberg said that Billy Soul, the Native American tracker in Predator, interpreted by Sonny Landham, who was half Sioux? Is that how you pronounce that word? The tribe, Sioux, Sioux. I think it's Sioux.
Oh, yeah.
So he was in Predator, the first Predator movie. He led to the idea of this movie. Trachtenberg said that when he was too young to watch the film, when it came out, he heard some older kids talking about there was a scene where Billy stood on a bridge over a waterfall and fought the Predator. But then when Trachtenberg saw the movie, that scene was not in it. He said that the beginning of it is, but then it cuts away. So the seed was planted, and he thought, wouldn't it be awesome to have a movie that focuses on that character's movie? And Prey isn't exactly that, but it is spiritually. I think that's pretty great.
Yeah, that's good.
So, not only is the gun from Predator 2 in this, which is like, it's interesting to see it already like acknowledging a movie that isn't the first one, but the skull from one of the creatures in Predators is the mask that the Predator in Prey uses as his helmet. So this movie acknowledges both Predator 2 and Predators in some way, which is very nice, very cool to see. I don't think it acknowledges the Predator, but I don't know how it would. But yeah, the gun from Predator 2 is so interesting because it implies that the Predators get the gun back somehow, which is kind of a dark implication to the end of the film. But Richard, what baffles me so much about Prey's existence and about the Predator franchise, so much so that we've already done a podcast on the subject. From the first Predator movie, it is directly communicated to the audience that predators have been visiting Earth for centuries. The native girl in Predator mentions like, we've heard of this before, basically. Why the hell did it take them so long to expand upon that on screen? And why does it feel like it was this weird out there idea that no one wanted to take a risk on? Like, it had already been done in the comic books, but it's been set up. The gun in Predator 2 feels like it is directly...
It's a smoking gun. It's a Chekhov's gun.
It's literally a Chekhov's gun. It feels like it's saying they've been here for so long, so of course we're going to visit them. And we don't visit them for 35 years. We don't go back to we don't explore that on camera, in film, for 35 years. And look, they finally made one, and it's the best one. It fucking rocks. Why are you wasting your time on Alien vs. Predator and fucking The Predator when, like, there is a story engine written into the DNA of the series from the first film that has just never been expanded upon until now? I think that's so strange. Like,
it's wacky is what it is.
It's almost like they shouldn't be congratulated for doing it, because it's like, yeah, no shit. Why did we...
I was really surprised to see how signposted Prey is.
Yeah!
Because it was originally announced as being, like, skulls, right?
Yes, so... Yep.
Yeah, and I remember, like, hearing all this and just thinking, oh, yeah, like, sounds wacky, sure. But, yeah, I didn't think that there was...
Precedent.
I didn't realize until now that... Yeah, that it made so much sense.
Yeah, Yeah. So yeah, the film was originally marketed as with the codename Skulls, but it got out that it was actually a new Predator film, and Trachtenberg indicated that the original intention was to market the film with no reference to the Predators, something no longer possible with the confirmation of the film's place in the franchise. He said, "This was meant to be a surprise, been working on this for almost 4 years now. I am very sad that what we had in store for how you could discover this movie will no longer happen. It's a bummer, but also yay." Which, again, I feel like how many times has one of us pitched a sequel which is a secret sequel? You know? I bet someone at Fox leaked today. I bet they were just like, no, we're not going to take a risk on no one seeing
that's
this
crazy.
movie.
Which is interesting because, Dan Trachtenberg's only other film was like a secret surprise sequel to something as well.
It's clearly something he enjoys doing. Yeah. Any cool lines or moments that you liked from Prey? I love it when Tabe,
if it bleeds, we can kill it.
Believes we can kill it when that comes back. I think finally the coolest line from the original one is like implemented in a cool way. So nice. Cool. Well, that is all of the movies. Let's move on now to a little segment called Meeting of the Elders, Richard, where if you donate to our Cult Elders tier over at patreon.com/cultpopture, you get to join a little secret Discord server where you can tell us what you think of the films, and we'll read through all your thoughts now. So what have we got from the Cult Elders this week?
Right. Also, Brent from Texas last week said, "If it bleeds, we can kill it," was one of my favorite Web 1.0 memes. Wait, that's not this week. Save that for Predator. Brent also went on to say, Jesse Ventura was a wrestler, then an actor, then governor of Minnesota.
He plays Blaine in Predator.
Dan from LV426 says, "I have nothing but positive things to say about the Predator films I've seen, except I am still livid about The Predator 2018. I went in excited, thrilled about a new darkly comedic action from Shane Black, who was in the original. How cool! I had heard it would be bad and was pleasantly surprised at the fun and promising third act. Then the second act hit and things started to fall apart. The third act came around and just made me regret..."
Third act before, he said the fun and promising first act.
Yeah, that's what I said. "And the third act came around and just made me regret the entire experience. Don't get me started on the whole autism thing. It's such a promising setup to pit escaped convicts, our likely heroes, against a predator. Now that I type that up, I'm describing the best aspect of Alien 3. Oops. I would like my haiku reviews of the films to be read," and we've got the correct ones this time. Not going to read anything unwanted. Predator 1987, 4 stars, perfect editing, too many one-liners, so very 80s. I don't know if we've explained this in a while, but if you listen to this segment, Dan reviews all of their films in haiku form. So, haiku reviews on Letterboxd. The Predator 2018, 2 stars, first act, solid fun. Second act, sloppy action. Third act, a hot mess. That's good that you're able to do that. Prey, 4 stars. A harrowing tale of an underdog to all hunting the hunter. Also worth mentioning as well, there's a very good boy in Prey.
Oh, there's a dog, yes. It was untrained. And they apparently used every scrap of footage of him that was usable.
It's funny because I saw a lot of people, before I'd seen it, I saw a lot of people praising the dog's performance, and it's a testament to the editing. Yeah. Predator was one of the first R-rated movies. This is Cheeseburster, sorry. Predator was one of the first R-rated movies I saw as a kid. I rewatched it this week, and it rules. A more interesting setup than you might expect with the CIA stuff, and then it just turns into a great 80s action/horror flick with a cool monster. I would disagree with it being a horror flick, but that's all right. I watched Predator 2 for the first time the other day, and holy shit! It wasn't what I expected. Just a wild ride from start to finish that gets crazier and crazier with a who's who of 80s actors. Danny Glover as a madman. The ending is absolute insanity. Very fun to watch. Predators I saw back when it came out and rewatched recently. It's a good idea. Honestly, it's a good setup for a better AVP movie than any of the AVP movies. That is a great point.
Interesting.
The warring factions. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Cheeseburster also says, Prey is the best movie of the franchise. The cast, the setting, the story, the acting, Beautiful shots, 5 stars. The Indigenous influence and representation needs to be talked about. The producer is Indigenous, and that's good to know. And most, if not all, of the cast is as well. It's the first film to be released with a full Indigenous dub alongside the English release as well. I know you'll probably talk about it, but it's worth mention.
I think it is so great that Prey is about it's specifically a female Indigenous experience, and the when we're talking about pitching period piece prequels and stuff, the one thing I wasn't counting on was like just how much Prey works because it has that intertextuality in it, and it makes me wonder if maybe there's more to it than what us and the Twitter army would have you believe, that it just all it is setting a film in a different time period. I think that Prey is more than just a period piece in that sense.
I agree. Bliss My Dog is in Xanadu says, the only time I tried to watch the first Predator movie, which those heathens at 20th Century Fox Home Entertainment ruined by screwing up the restoration with shite digital noise reduction.
I heard about this, yeah.
Commonly seen as one of the worst film restorations in history, but I digress. Back to what I was saying, I attempted to watch the film, which a Google search had me informed as being the manliest film of all time. I wanted to watch this with my dog the day before he was set to get his balls chopped off as a final salute to his manhood. Poor puppy. Sadly, those heathens at 20th Century Fox Home Entertainment bjorked up again. My Blu-ray copy was not only a shoddy/crap restoration, but the bloody thing didn't work. 5 minutes in and it was already skippity-doo-daying major parts of the film due to the disc being defective. Honestly, I'm glad 20th Century Fox Home Entertainment no longer exists. I have nothing else to say of Predator because I never got to watch it.
Yeah.
Paul Hill has said, along with If It Bleeds, We Can Kill It, Prey could have included another line that reoccurs throughout the franchise. Naru's main weapon is her hatchet. You could set up earlier in the film that the men think she should be using it to chop meat or something like that, so she refers to it as her chopper. Then in the final fight, it gets knocked away from her, she's pinned down and unable to reach it, and she shouts to the dog, "Sorry, get to the chopper." Everybody cheers.
That would be so lame. And I think as soon as they establish it's called a chopper, it'd be like, oh yeah, where's this going?
Tyler has said, former All Black Ma Nonu always gave me Predator vibes. Yeah, get the Americans to Google Ma Nonu and tell me he doesn't remind you of Predator. Would you read that out? That's the deal here, eh? Whatever the elders put, you gotta read. I'm a stupid moron with an ugly face and a big butt, and my butt smells, and I like to kiss my own butt. Hee hee, hee hee.
You don't expect Martin Nonu to show up in film franchise Fortnights.
Yeah, very Predator vibes though, I agree. And Paul Hill has pointed out, don't forget to rank Coming to America.
Didn't we rank it?
No.
Oh my god, we forgot to rank it, and then we forgot to rank it. Thank you, Paul. I'll try to remember that. Alrighty, that is the meeting adjourned for the Cult Elders section this week. Richard, we talk about titles a lot on this film, on this franchise, on this podcast, beg your pardon. And love them or hate them, I think Predator's got to have one of the most interesting, franchise titling schemes, because it feels like they've used up every format you could, from the simple numerical, which we talked about with Predator 2, the pluralizing with Predators, adding a the with the Predator, and then changing the entire title. And I think, Richard, that is interesting. That's what I think is interesting.
What do you think of Prey as a title?
So I think that if the next one was called Prey 2, I'd be like, cool, it's a new series.
What if it was called Pray Tell?
Pray Tell, that'd be fine as well. Or if the next one was called a different thing altogether, it's like, all right, we're
Predator 6.
Yeah, if it's called Predator 6, I'm not going to watch it. But I mean, it could be following in the Prometheus Alien Covenant footsteps. It is the parallel to that in a lot of ways. And that the next one will be called like Predator 1776.
Covenant.
Predator Covenant. Yeah, I mean, I think part of me just wants, like, the one I dislike the most is The Predator. That should have been called something else, I think.
Two Predators.
It should have been called The Predator.
The Two Predators.
I thought while I was watching, I thought The Predator Head Start, because he gives them a head start at the end, but head start because he rips heads off. I don't know. Thought that could be a cool
The
title.
autistic predator.
The Predator Autism is what it's called.
Yeah.
Alrighty. But what we want to do here now, Rich, is we want to continue the franchise. This is a segment where we pitch continuations of the franchise. But before we do, here are some stuff that's already in the works or not in the works. Because as I've mentioned, there's been a lot in the way of unmade films that have bobbed about the franchise over the years, but the Predator series has had quite a successful comic book run, as I said before. It's also had a series of novels and a few video games, most notable of which would include 2005's Predator Concrete Jungle for PS2 and Xbox, wherein the player controls a disgraced predator who must regain his honor by killing the humans who have stolen his technology. And then there's also 2020's Predator Hunting Grounds, which is an online battle royale game set in the remote jungles of the world, and it tasks a team of 4 elite operatives with completing paramilitary operations before a single predator can find and eliminate them. It's like the Friday the 13th game, so you don't know if you're going to be...
it's a asymmetric horror, horror. So like, or Dead by Daylight. But do you have the other interesting thing about this game
so Dutch returns in this game, voiced by Arnold Schwarzenegger in his first return to the franchise ever. Isn't that weird?
You also have Alice Braga as Isabel from Predators and Jake Busey as Sean Keyes from The Predator in it.
Wow, awesome! That's great. It's bringing it all together in the dubiously canonical video game format, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I have this downloaded. I haven't played it yet.
We played it a little bit. It's all right.
Yeah, because it was one of the free games on PS Plus not that long ago.
Yeah,
we should play it.
Yeah.
Let's play it today. When you're listening to this, I have Monday off work.
Okay.
We all do because it's a day of mourning. You're listening to this on our national day of mourning here in New Zealand because the Queen died.
In terms of movies, Prey itself hints at a direct sequel in the credits. At the end of the film is like a bunch of like Native American like drawings, like that art style, and it goes through the whole movie, but then the last shot is the Comanche characters looking up into the sky, and a bunch of Predator ships come through the clouds. So maybe we're not going to get a period piece jumping adventure. Maybe we'll stay in this period, which is a perfectly valid creative decision, if a little not as interesting as what I think a lot of people are hoping. Prior to the film's release, Trachtenberg stated that there are discussions for additional installments to be developed after the release of Prey, saying that their intent was to do things that have not been done before in the franchise. And in August, Bennett Taylor expressed interest in reprising his role as Raphael Adolini as the pirate he is in a potential prequel to Prey, serving as a loose adaptation of the 1996 comic book Predator 1718, in which Adolini was introduced, reading it as research before shooting Prey, having aimed to bring as much of Raphael into Prey that made sense. This is the guy that has the pistol, and he's a pirate. He does die in Prey, though. He gets killed. If it weren't for the fairly cheesy scene in Predators where a Yakuza gangster fights a predator with a samurai sword, I'd say that feudal Japan would be my next pick for where to take the Predator. I think that I'd call it Ryoshi, which is the Japanese word for hunter. IMDb trivia would point out that this is potentially a reference to the original film's working title. The Japanese word for predator is Hoshuku Sha, which I didn't think sounded as cool. And another title I'd like to see a Predator period piece go by would be Apex. It'd be cool if all the different period pieces were called like a different word you associate with Predator. I can't think of any others other than Prey or Apex, though. I looked it up. I didn't know what to Google. I Googled like associated words and it just gave me antonyms. So
Weinstein.
Yeah, Weinstein. Yeah. What's your continue the franchise?
I have two. So I really liked the character of Naru from Prey. And I think a game where you can romance her would be fun. like a dating sim, and it's called Predator.
Why stop at Naru? Why can't we have every female character that's been... And fuck, bring aliens. You can... The last level is you have to seduce Ripley.
No, the last level is you have to seduce the alien queen.
Yes! I realised that as you were saying it. That's so good.
But the other idea I had, which is actually a joke you've already made on this podcast, but I thought of it before that, is I like the setup of Predators, that it's like you have... I love the idea of like of the predators bringing people to their planet to have something to hunt, you know? And I thought the idea of the predators getting a bunch of people who... Well, let me say this. There was a survey done that a full 6% of Americans believe that they could defeat a bear in unarmed combat. Now...
How much? Sorry, 6%.
6%. Which a lot of people say, oh, that seems like a lot. I'm in the 6%. I think I could defeat a bear. But I think you would also have a lot of people that would hop online and think that they could defeat a predator. And I like the idea of the predators going through internet archives to find people that have said that they could fight a predator. And I think you can probably tell where I'm going with this, because the film is titled Predator, but like Redditor, and it's spelt like that.
I thought you were going to say Internet Predator.
No. Yeah, so it's predators taking on people that have tweeted or posted online about how they think they could defeat a predator.
Trolls versus Predator?
Yeah.
Predator, nice. I believe my flatmate at Pickle Darling on Twitter tweeted Alien vs Redditor earlier today, so
nice.
It's out in the zeitgeist, so it'll probably happen. Well, look, regardless of what happens, there's got to be more of these movies, because I don't understand why the Predators would keep coming back to Earth if they keep getting defeated.
That's my other thing, actually, as well, and that was part of my pitch, is that I want to see the Predators just really fucking people up, because they always get defeated, you know, they're supposedly the apex predator, and they got defeated by, you know, some fucking lady in 1719.
I reckon we must only see the stories where the humans win. That's my headcanon, is that this is happening all over time and space, and we just happen to see the lucky ones.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. All right, Richard, now it's time to rank that franchise. We're over at letterboxd.com/
We've got 2 franchises to rank.
Lists / Cult Popture / lists. We rank every franchise we've ever covered on the podcast. Let's rank Coming to America first.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you really? You want to put it first?
Yeah, I'm going to put it first. All right, I'm going to put Coming to America. Did we like those movies or not? I can't remember. I'm going to put it between...
The Amazing Spider-Man and Strictly Ballroom.
Oh my god, that's way higher then. But no, you're probably right. Do you reckon it's more around the, like, Ace Ventura level?
Yeah.
I'm going to put it below Ace Ventura at 106.
Okay.
And then I'm going to add Predator. There it is. Okay, where are we thinking for Predator? Better than Coming to America?
Yes.
I think here's the interesting thing about ranking this, right? Is like in 10 years when we've had a bunch of sequels to Prey, I feel like this is going to be a much better franchise. But right now, as it stands, it feels a bit more weighted in the more bad than good.
Yeah, sure.
So I'm thinking maybe quite close to the Nymphomaniac constant, which is at 75. I think it's probably better than Anchorman. Okay, I'm going to put it between Rugrats and the Mighty Ducks.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Yep.
All right, so it's 73. That is ranking that franchise. Next week, we're going to be doing Alien vs Predator. So stay tuned for that. Alien vs Predator and Alien vs Predator Requiem. That'll be
Aliens versus Predator Requiem.
Requiem. That'll be next week. And after that, do we need to put up a franchise poll then when this goes?
Yes, we should. We should have put one up last week, probably.
Oh well.
You only get 1 week to vote, cucks.
So that'll go up, and you guys can suggest what you think we should watch after the AVP saga is done. Please stay tuned for the post-credit scene that'll come at the end of this episode, and also after the music finishes. And if you liked this episode, please consider following us on all the places. We're on Twitter and Instagram at Cold Popture. You can join the Discord server, which is in the show notes below. And if you like, you can join the Patreon, patreon.com/coldpopture, where, as I just said, you can do all sorts of fun things, such as contribute to the post-credit scene. You can also tell us which movies that we need to watch. You can get exclusive podcasts. It's all very fun, and I would like to bump up those numbers. We get some rookie numbers.
We should really record some of our Patreon stuff.
Yeah, we're like, why isn't anyone joining our Patreon as we let the month tick over? So stay tuned for the post-credit scene, and remember, guys, you're some ugly motherfuckers. Welcome along to the post-credit scene. This is a segment at the end of each episode where if you donate $5 or more over at patreon.com/coldpopture, you get to give us something to talk about in the post-credit scene. Richard, who's it from and what is it?
So this one comes to us from Tyler, who says, fellas, what are some of your favourite film soundtracks? Can you think of any songs that transcend the films they came from? Perhaps you could try harmonise one for us. For the record, I love Ozzy Osbourne's song Hellraiser. Favourite film soundtracks in terms of like original music for the film. Walk Hard is a classic. Totally. Love that. But in terms of curated soundtracks, the Guardians of the Galaxy ones. I had one in mind. I can't remember.
Watchmen's always stood.
Desolation Row by My Chemical Romance is my favorite MCR song. It's a Bob Dylan cover. It was done for Watchmen.
You I'd say the Watchmen soundtrack, and you say like to me the one unnotable song on the soundtrack is Desolation Row. It's like full of fucking Bob Dylan and Simon and Garfunkel and
shut up.
99 Schleff Luftballons. Yeah.
I will say though, one that is very near and dear to this podcast that we could perhaps harmonise if you want is Alice Cooper's theme for Jason Lives Friday the 13th Part 6.
Yeah.
Oh, but he's back. He's the man behind the mask. And he's out of control.
Sorry, it's very hard to harmonise over the internet.
Yeah. That's one that I put on every now and then. In fact, I'm probably going to listen to it while I clean my room after this.
I also really like the original soundtrack for a movie called Begin Again, and same director did a movie called Sing Street, which is really cool music in it as well.
And Once.
Yep.
The Rocky soundtracks.
I don't like Once as much though. Everyone thinks Once is his best movie. I think it's his worst movie.
I think Sing Street's his worst movie. That's a very hot take, I know.
The music in Sing Street's better though than the music in Once.
I mean, Once has the best song in his filmography with Falling Slowly.
It's fine.
Falling Slowly is a gorgeous song.
I don't get it.
You're falling too fast.
Yeah. Falling in love with you. Did I say that out loud?